Star Wars The Last Jedi is written and directed by Rian Johnson and is the 8th film in the Star Wars saga. 9th film if you include Rogue One, 10th if you include the Clone Wars, which I know most people don't. Here's how I'm going to do this review. This is going to be a completely spoiler-heavy review. If you have not seen The Last Jedi, I'm going to talk about a lot of things that happen in this movie. Not everything, but just everything that I have to say something about. I'll just start off by saying I liked the movie. It's not great. You should definitely go check it out. I think it's worth viewing more than once because you get more out of it the second time, just because there are so many different things that happen. But I think that there's too many specific things that I want to talk about for this to be a non-spoiler review. I'll just give my rating right now. It's a 14 out of 20. Definitely, I would still recommend watching it. You might not like it. You might really love it. But again, definitely worth checking out. And now I'm just going to basically talk about this movie as the events happened in the movie. This movie starts out with an action scene, and it's right where the Force Awakens left off, and not the part where Rey's handing off the lightsaber to Luke. That's a little bit later. And this starts off with the Resistance getting beaten up, basically, by the First Order. They found the Ilenium system, and they're there, and they're trying to escape. So there's this kind of cool action scene with a Dreadnought Star Destroyer that is sent to destroy the entire Rebel base and the entire Rebel fleet. Poe, being the hothead that he is, leads a charge against the Dreadnought, takes out its main guns, and leads a whole bunch of bombers into the area to destroy the Dreadnought. Every single bomber gets destroyed, but they do get the Dreadnought as well. And so because of this, everybody's kind of pissed at Poe. People died during that mission. The Resistance took very, very heavy losses. That comes into play a little bit later, but they jump into Lightspeed, and they find out that they're getting tracked through Lightspeed. And that's one of the first things that I was really curious about in this movie. How were they able to track through Lightspeed? It's not something that they've really brought up in the other movies, like they weren't able to track through Lightspeed, but it's a really interesting point to add into the movie, and I thought that it would have been such an interesting way to figure out, oh, how did they do that? And it would have only taken one line of dialogue. You know, they say that, oh, it's the lead ship tracking us. But that's all they get into. They don't go, how do they do that? They don't give any explanation whatsoever. They're just like, oh, so it's the lead ship, so we have to get on the lead ship in order to stop it. That's as far as the plan goes. It would have taken just one little line of dialogue, like, oh, the lead ship is probably the one tracking us. They might be using this thing. It was experimental. And, you know, Rose mentioned something along those lines about something being experimental, but they never really explained how they're able to do this. And that's something that I wish that they explained. It's a little bit of a nitpick, but it bugged me enough to where I had a bit of an issue with it. Again, it would have just taken one line of dialogue, oh, they're using this. So I think that I would have preferred that would have been explained. And so while this is all going on, we cut over to Rey handing the lightsaber over to Luke. And so he takes the lightsaber, he has it in his hands, and then he just takes it and hucks it right over his shoulder. I didn't necessarily love that moment. I thought that it was funny. It was definitely unexpected, so it got an unexpected laugh out of me, just from the surprise factor. But it took away any dramatic weight that would have had. If he had just dropped the lightsaber straight to the ground, that would have had the same impact. But then we wouldn't get the part where the porgs are on the lightsabers. And we have to have porgs on lightsabers. That's just how it goes with a Disney Star Wars movie. Yeah, I don't like the way that they did that. I think it would have been much more impactful if they had just made him drop the lightsaber instead. And so, right off the bat, Luke is a much different character than what we're used to. We see him go around on his day-to-day life. He's milking weird animals. He's hunting giant fish. And he refuses to train Rey. He says, I'm not going to do this. I stopped. I isolated myself for a reason. I'm not getting back in this fight. And so for a while, Rey is trying to convince Luke. While that's going on, Finn wakes up because, you know, in the last movie he kind of got sliced up the back by Kylo Ren. And so he wakes up. He figures out that they're tracking, the Resistance is being tracked through lightspeed. And so he comes up with a plan where he's going to abandon ship and he's going to go and find help. Like, he's not leaving because he's a coward. He's leaving so that he can go and find help. And right before that happens, Leia gives him a little tracker that will help Rey find them later. So he's also doing it so that if Rey ever comes back looking for them after she finds Luke, that she doesn't go into that mess. Because if she goes into that mess, then she's going to get killed too. So Finn is thinking of Rey. Also, I'll just throw this in there real quick. The moment with Leia, where she, uses the Force to fly through space, I did not dislike that moment. I think it could have been done better. There were better ways to execute it. It kind of looked a little bit silly, how she was flying through space like that. But I really liked what they were going for. I enjoyed that she was able to use the Force. It could have been done better, though. But, so Finn meets Rose, who ends up being a nothing character. They go off on their mission to Canto Bight, and it's not exciting at all. There's nothing interesting going on there. They bring somewhat of a layer of, how do you think people get so rich? It's by selling weapons to the bad guys, but then you find out they also sell weapons to the good guys, so there's two sides to everything. And that's kind of interesting, but it detracts from the rest of the movie. It doesn't belong in this story. And, they also save a whole bunch of animals, but they leave the slaves who are taking care of the animals there. So that's cool. Another thing so Finn and Rose go off on this mission. Poe is the one who let them go off. And Poe's trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? Because the bridge got destroyed, everybody on the ship is basically just trying to survive. And they're staying just out of range of the Star Destroyers. And so Vice Admiral Holdo is put in charge. This is Laura Dern's character. Poe goes up to her, is like, hey, listen, what's the plan? We need to be able to act quick because we're going to run out of fuel. And he's in the right state of mind on this. Even though he was wrong before by sacrificing all the troops, he's in the right for wanting to know what's going on, for wanting to be prepared. And so what Vice Admiral Holdo what she does is just brush him off. Say, oh, flyboy, weren't you demoted? Wasn't that the last order Leia gave? And it's so stupid. Why would you not just share She has a very clear plan. Hey, we're going to board these transport ships. We're going to fly off onto that nearby planet. We're going to beam a signal up to our allies. And they're not going to see us. They're not looking for the smaller ships. But she never shares that plan with anybody. Except for a few people. So everybody that wants to know what's going on is not able to figure out what's going on because she's not sharing anything. Which makes her such a piss-poor leader. And a bad character. She goes out in a cool way. That moment where it's silent, that was a really cool moment, but it wasn't earned at all. Her character did not deserve that one bit. Because they didn't write her properly. All you needed to do was just share the plan and you would have been fine. But instead, she just doesn't do anything. She's like, oh, don't you worry. We'll figure it out. We're just going to keep running away. It's like, no, there's no spies on the ship. That was never brought up to be a concern in this movie. So why would you not just share the plan? Say, hey, listen, I know you're a good guy. I'm a good guy. We're going to get on these ships and we're going to get out of here. It's that easy. But I don't understand why she doesn't do that. It's stupid. And then going back to Rey and Luke, Luke reluctantly agrees to train Rey. He says that she will learn 3 lessons from him. But he only teaches 2 lessons in this movie. So I'm wondering where that 3rd lesson is going to come into play. And they're doing their training. It's pretty cool. It's my favorite part of the movie by far. And then when Rey and Kylo Ren, they start having this Force connection. They're not really sure what it is. They're not sure how they're able to talk to one another. but that was a really cool moment as well, where they're able to just sort of communicate with one another via the Force. And neither of them really know what's going on. We later find out that it was Snoke who ended up being able to connect the two of them. And so Rey goes into the equivalent of the cave from Empire Strikes Back, and she does her little, her little snappy thing, just like that was a really cool moment in the movie, I think. And she tries to figure out who her parents are, and she sees two figures walking up towards her from a mirror, and they combine into one, and then it turns out it was her the whole time. And that was a really effective moment in the movie, because the next thing that she says was, "I've never felt so alone." And so that bridges her character with Kylo Ren, because both of them feel alone. And I really like the way that they executed the two of the characters in this movie, and the connection that they had with one another. And so then she eventually goes off to meet up with Kylo Ren, because she thinks that he'll turn, but turns out it was a trap, and she ends up meeting Snoke, who interrogates her and says, "Hey, where's Luke?" And he finds out where Luke is, and then he orders Kylo Ren to kill Rey. But instead of killing Rey, Kylo Ren kills Snoke, which was very telegraphed, but it was still a cool moment when he actually did it, because he used the Force to turn the lightsaber that was sitting right next to him, and then it stabbed him through the side, and it cut him in half. It was really, really awesome. And then we get the best action scene in this entire movie, the only one that I would say is great, and that is the scene with the Praetorian Guards. Oh yeah, these guys are badass. And that's an awesome action scene. Both times I've seen the movie, it's really, really entertaining. And I look forward, when I watch the movie again, I'm going to look forward to that scene again. It's the best coordinated in the movie. It has the best pacing. It looks the coolest. And it's awesome. So then that happens. Kylo Ren decides, "Hey, I'm the new Supreme Leader now. Rey, join me. We'll build a new galaxy together. We will rule together." And Rey says no, and so they fight over the lightsaber using the Force, and the Kyber crystal ends up splitting in half, causing a bit of an explosion. And then the part where Vice Admiral Holdo comes in, she blasts through the ship. It was a cool send-off, but it wasn't really, again, it wasn't earned. And so then what happens is all the Resistance is on. Oh, I might as well talk about Captain Phasma real quick. She does jack shit again. That's all I gotta say. So the Resistance ends up going down to this planet, and they're stuck in the base that's there. They have a vault door that can't be breached by anything, but then turns out the First Order has something that can breach it, and so they make a last stand. Very reminiscent of the Battle of Hoth in Empire Strikes Back. So much so that it almost, for a moment, seemed shot-for-shot remake for a little part of it. But then what happens is they try and fight. The TIE fighters come out. So you have troops on the ground, which include Finn, it includes Rose, it includes Poe Dameron, and a couple other Resistance fighters. There's TIE fighters that are coming down, trying to pick them off. All of the new AT-ATs are picking them off as well. And so the Millennium Falcon comes along, Chewie's flying it, and Rey is in there as well. And they are just blasting the hell out of these guys, and they end up distracting them long enough to where the Resistance should be able to get this. They basically have a battering ram gun that's going to blow down this door, and they're going to slaughter the entire Resistance. And so what happens is there's too many of them getting picked off. Poe realizes it's not worth sacrificing everybody again. He's already made this mistake once, and he does not want to do it again. And so he tells everyone to pull off, but Finn says, "No, I'm not going to do that. This is our one shot of saving every single person. I'm going to destroy this battering ram, and everybody's going to be safe." And so what they do is everybody pulls off except Finn. Rose is telling him, "No, no, don't do it." And it's a beautiful moment. Finn is about to, his guns are getting shot off, so he can't shoot the battering ram down the mouth. But he can fly himself into it, Independence Day style almost, where he flies himself right into the main cannon and the whole thing blows up. That's what he was going to do. It was going to be a really powerful moment. And then Finn was going to be dead. I love his character, but it would have been such a powerful moment, because then Rey would have met up with the rest of the Resistance and gone, where's Finn? Where did he go? And the last thing that she said to him in The Force Awakens was, we'll see each other again, I know that. And that would have been such a powerful moment. That would have gotten me emotional in this movie. Nothing else really got me, but that would have gotten me emotional. And it would have been such a powerful moment. But no, that's not what happened. Rose comes in and just crashes into a ship, and both of them go flying off. And then the battering ram ends up succeeding and blowing up the door. And it's awful. It's an awful moment. Why would you ever put that in? Because, and it's even worse with the line that Rose has after. Rose is like, we're not going to win by destroying what we hate. We're going to win by saving what we love. Well, he was about to destroy what he hated and save what he loved at the same time. You just put every single person in the Resistance at risk. If Luke hadn't have shown up to distract everyone so that you guys could leave, then there would be no Resistance anymore. Why would you ever think of doing that? It's just stupid. And then she kisses him for some reason. She's not a good character. Kelly Marie Tran does a fine job at portraying her. Nothing wrong with the performance. It's all in the character. It's a really bad moment. That's one of the only truly bad moments in this movie. And it really does detract from the weight that could have had. It would have been so much better if that's what they went for, but they didn't. So it's just frustrating, I guess. I mean, that's just what it is. But then we have Luke. He comes out and he has a little moment with Leia. It's sweet, and I like the interaction that the two of them had with one another. And then Luke walks out to face down the entire First Order. Nice little bit of foreshadowing earlier in the script when he said that too. I like that. Didn't notice it until the second time around though. And then he goes out and faces them down. That's one of the most beautiful looking moments of the entire movie, where Kylo Ren and Luke are facing off, and you have all the walkers in the background and the sun setting behind them. It just looks awesome. And then this is another part of the movie that I actually didn't like, because it kept cross-cutting between this awesome moment with Kylo Ren and Luke. And I was pumped. They kept hyping it up, and I was like, yeah, let's get it. It's going to be awesome. But then they cut in between that and the Resistance trying to escape the cave that they were in. It's essentially a cave. I said base, cave, same thing. It's like a base within a cave or something like that. And it was going to be so good until they kept cutting to the Resistance running away, but they did it at all the wrong moments. There's a way to properly edit that together to make it so much better, but they just didn't do it. And it was very frustrating to watch both times, because in the moment, I didn't care what happened to the Resistance. I wanted to see Luke and Kylo Ren square off. So you either needed to put all that stuff at the beginning or all that stuff at the end. And I wasn't a fan of the way that they did it. Could have been edited much better. So I don't know. Could have been much better. Also, the fight between Kylo Ren and Luke, it had no stakes, even though it was entertaining. I say it had no stakes because I thought it was very obvious that Luke wasn't there. His hair color was different. His hair was shorter. He had the lightsaber that broke. He was obviously not there, so it sort of drained all the tension from that scene for me. And it was still entertaining, but again, there wasn't really much to be worried about. And then you get the moment where, Luke reveals that it's not him. Kylo Ren gets all pissed off. And basically, movie over. The Resistance gets away. Luke ends up dying. I think that he ends up just sort of letting himself be one with the Force. I think he kind of lets himself die. That's how I interpreted it. I saw something that was kind of funny on someone else reviewing it, where he was saying, what, you don't think that you're ever going to be needed again? You're just going to let yourself die right now? Why can't you stick around in case these guys need you inevitably in episode 9? I thought that was kind of funny. And it is kind of a good point. Practically speaking, why would you not want to actually be there? But in this movie, we did kind of learn that as a Force ghost, you can be pretty powerful. And I'm talking about Yoda. Completely forgot to talk about that earlier. Yoda's scene is really good in this movie. I like it quite a bit. For whatever reason, at first I thought he was a different puppet. I thought it looked a little bit off to me from the one in Empire Strikes Back. Definitely better than the one that was in Episode 1, that's for sure. But there was something about him that didn't seem right. I didn't notice that the second time around for whatever reason. Maybe it was just because it was so shocking that Yoda was there. But yeah, that was a really great scene. And so maybe Luke is going to be more powerful as a Force ghost. That's pretty much all that I have to say about the movie. One more quick thing. I wish that Snoke had a backstory. I think that he was a really interesting character that they didn't do too much with. I understand that he was a placeholder for Kylo Ren to take power. I understand that, you know, he didn't really need to have much of a character, but they alluded to so much about him without explaining any of it. Like, he was able to corrupt Kylo Ren several years ago. He was able to forge a First Order out of the remnants of the Empire. He's this super powerful being, and we get little hints of that, but nothing close to an explanation. And I wish that there was one. It's an interesting character, and I wish that they had done more with him. That's really all I gotta say about The Last Jedi. And this is a video talking about Star Wars. I might as well rank all of the Star Wars movies. I'm not gonna include Clone Wars. I don't really want to. I've only seen it once, and it was okay. But this right here is all of the Star Wars movies ranked to date. This is guaranteed to change throughout, like, as time goes on. I'm sure that I'm going to feel differently about all of this. I'm sure that, you know, Last Jedi might move up or down. You know, Empire is obviously going to stay on top. New Hope, Force Awakens. I see those three maintaining their status as my top 3. But I think that I am a little bit disappointed that The Last Jedi wasn't a bit better, because again, it was just shy of being a great movie. It's a good movie for sure. Definitely watch it. Definitely check it out. Maybe watch it twice. I think that you'll get more out of it the second time. And yeah, that's really all I got to say about The Last Jedi. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.